Hello guitar players, my name is Jack Jennings and I'm going to tell you about the second part of the Raag Bageshree course that's out this month on Patreon. It's a composition, a very traditional Indian classical composition that's been played by numerous sitar players, and it's also a popular vocal composition as well. And the special thing about this composition, the way that I've laid it out, is that it's based on a very particular lesson that I had with my teacher Roopa Panesar, and she's a wonderful sitar player from the UK. We would be playing the composition together with the main theme, and then she would just launch into these pretty fast lines that would go through a very wide range of the ascending and descending structure, so all the way from the sort of middle lower range of the instrument all the way up to the highest note. And she would just throw at me these different variations, and I would have to just kind of pick them up and try to arrange my fingers in the right way. When you're playing guitar and someone else is playing sitar in front of you, you can't always do it exactly the same way that they're doing it, so sometimes you might have to do string changes. If they're going right up to their highest fret and doing the bending, they're reaching notes that you can't get on that single string. So you have to rearrange the lines and you have to use different fingering techniques. But I was trying my best just to grab hold of these lines on the spot, and then she would just throw one after another at me. And luckily I was recording everything, so I've gone back to these recordings and I've listened to the different variations that she was playing, and I've arranged them all into this composition, into this lesson. So it really just opens up the sound of the Raag and gives you a few different ideas of how you can move around the neck using the ascending and descending structure of the Raag, which is very particular in Raag Bageshree. If you'd like to access this course, then it's available via Patreon as a monthly subscription. The composition is played with synchronized tablature at 3 different speeds, so you can practice it at more of a moderate speed and then build it up from there. And there's also a very in-depth lesson talking about just all the different fingering techniques that I used to get the right approach to doing this in a technical way, doing it in a way which is efficient and always gives you the best grasp over the phrase that you're playing. In the lesson it's broken down in a very step-by-step way, which is easy to follow. So after watching me play it, if you start feeling like, well, this is just too hard, I can't imagine being able to play that anytime soon, don't worry, because I will actually show you the steps that you need to put it together little bit by bit. So even if you can't play the whole thing up to speed, you'll still just be learning all of the foundational steps that you need to put everything in order, and then over time you will be progressing towards doing this kind of thing on the guitar. So stick around until the end of the video to see a little clip of that lesson, and you'll see the way that I break down all the different steps that you need to play this. Something else that I've just put together for my Patreon supporters is a diagram library on my website, and this includes diagrams from some of the other videos that I've made talking about Raag structures and other diagrams that would help you just to understand the Sargam system on the guitar neck. And there's a few other diagrams in there to do with modes and different scales and showing how you can relate different modes to pentatonic structures. This diagram library is available on the basic platform for my Patreon program, but you can also get access to this diagram library by just answering a little riddle that I'm going to give you now. It's not really a riddle, it's just a little Sargam question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some notes, and you have to comment in the comment section what are the Sargam notes that I just played. Okay, so I'm going to be in Raag Bageshree, just so that might give you a hint if you do know the structure of Raag Bageshree. So here we go. Okay, so Sa is here, that's Sa. Okay, let's hear that phrase one more time. So what you have to tell me is what are the Sargam syllables for each note that I played in this phrase. Right, the first 10 people to get it right are going to get access to the diagram library for 1 month. Next month then you'll have to answer another question if you want to keep accessing the library. So this should be a bit of fun. We'll see, who gets it right. And you can look at the other video that I've done about the structure of Raag Bageshree, and that should give you a really good idea of how you'd actually work out the notes that I'm playing, what the Sargam is. So you can check out that video as well, just to get more of a helping hand. But yeah, let's see if you guys can get this Sargam question right. So now you're going to hear that composition that I mentioned with all of those fast lines that Roopa's written built straight into the composition. And after that, you'll see a little clip of the lesson video breaking it all down. For the second part of this lesson, we're moving on to the tan phrases. So these are the exciting fast phrases which just jump in, and it's very exciting to see how they come right back to the 12th beat, so they match right up with the entry point for the melody. So let's just hear this first one. I'll show you how it comes from the main melody. Okay, so the way that worked is that we had the main melody, and then we had a little gap. So we got the raga, re, sa, re. So after that little chikari, if you don't have chikaris, you just have to sort of count a little gap. 1. Okay, just a little gap there. And then the phrase is ga-ma, da-ni, sa-ni, da. So the ga-ma is played here with the 10-12 ga-ma, so that's index, ring finger. Then index finger will come all the way up to 16 to play da-ni, sa, so index, middle, little. So the ga-ma, da-ni, sa-ni, da, moving just back with the same fingers. So once you've got that little finger on fret 19, then the middle finger's back to 17 and index finger's there on 16. So ga, ma, da, ni, sa, ni, da. Okay, here we go. Ga, ma, da, ni, sa, ni, da. And then move the index finger back to 12 to play ma, pa, da, ma. So index finger, middle finger, little finger, and then back to the index. Ma, pa, da, ma. And then it's very important here to do a finger replacement, so the middle finger comes onto the 10th fret to play ga, and then we can play re with the index finger, sa with the index finger, and ni. So that's a 9, 7, 5. So you've played 10 with the middle finger, and then a 9, 7, 5 with the index finger. The very last two notes are a re with the ring finger again, so that's fret 9. And then finally fret 7. So these all tend to finish on Sa. So we had Ma, Ga, Re, Ni, Re, Sa. So coming from about halfway through, we had the Ma, Pa, Da, Ma, which was the 12, 14, 16. Okay, 12, 14, 16, 12, and then back to middle finger on fret 10, and then we have the Re, Sa, Ni, and a Re, Sa, the 9, 7. So the whole phrase coming all the way from the 10, so the whole phrase coming all the way from the 10 is Ga, Ma, Da, Ni, Sa, Ni, Da, Ma, Pa, Da, Ma, Ga, Re, Sa, Ni, Re, Sa. Okay, the best point to actually loop this from is using this 4-bar loop. We can see the main melody actually starts here with that bend up from a 10 to a 12, so that's our Ma note. And then we have the Ma, Ga, Re, Sa, and then the Re is actually on beat 1. So I'm just going to play it to you and it will start with beat 1. So you'll just hear a gap. I'll strike the chakari on beat 2 and then begin the phrase. So let's see how this sounds. Okay, so that's the first phrase. Finally, I'd like to give a shout out to the people supporting me on Patreon. It's just in its beginnings, but it's getting off to a really good start. And a special shout out just this morning to Justin Murphy. It's the first person who signed up to the Diamond Patreon platform, which is really there for people just to show that extra bit of enthusiasm and support towards what I'm doing. And yet to all my patrons, thanks very much, and I'll look forward to keeping these videos coming.